Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump continuing his attacks on Senator John McCain. At a conservative forum on Saturday, Trump questioned McCain's status as a war hero. McCain was captured while fighting in the Vietnam War. The comments have drawn sharp criticism from veterans groups and fellow Republicans. In a USA Today op-ed this morning, Trump accused McCain of abandoning veterans. And on the Today Show, he criticized the reporting about his comments.
I do also respect greatly people that aren't captured. Nobody talks about them. We talk about John McCain, and I think it's great, and he is a very brave man and all of that. But we don't talk about the people that weren't captured, and that's what I was trying to refer to, and I think I did. And by the way, if you see the news conference right afterwards, a few minutes afterwards, everything was perfect. I never even thought this would be an issue. My opponents have brought it up. These are guys that have zero in the polls.
All right, so you've heard from Trump. Here now, Senator John McCain reacting to what Trump said.
I think he may owe an apology to the families of those who have sacrificed in conflict and those who have undergone the prison experience in serving their country. I'm in the arena, as TR used to say, but in the case of many of our veterans, when Mr. Trump said that he prefers to be with people who are not captured, well, the great honor of my life was to serve in the company of heroes. I'm not a hero, but those who are my senior ranking officers, people like Colonel Bud Day, Congressional Medal of Honor winner, and those that inspired us to do things that we otherwise wouldn't have been capable of doing. Those are the people that I think he owes an apology to.
Joining us now from Iowa is Slate Magazine senior editor, senior writer, Josh Voorhees. Josh, thanks for being here. Trump just tweeted a response to what's going on. He says this story is no longer about John McCain. It's about our horribly treated vets. Illegals are treated better than our wonderful veterans. Is this really over? I wonder what you think. You know, now he's going after reporters. So he's saying that, you know, it's the reporters who are continuing the story and it has nothing to do with him.
Yeah, he made these comments at a cattle call in Ames on Saturday, and even during that, there was kind of lots of jabs at the media. Trump has kind of an interesting relationship with us all. He likes to point at us, likes to bash us, but at the same time, it is that coverage that is certainly fueling, at least partially fueling, his kind of rise in the polls right now. So he's going to continue to score some points. He likes to make the conversation about whatever he's talking about, and he's, to his credit, he knows how to kind of manipulate and play the PR game better than pretty much anyone at this point. So it's not a surprise that he's going to keep swinging away and kind of twisting and wiggling and kind of squirming a little bit, but eventually ending up where he wants to end up.
Josh, what do you make of these Republican presidential candidates who are flat out coming out and saying he needs to drop out? We're talking people like Rick Perry and others who are saying, you know, his comments are ridiculous.
Well, this was really convenient for the Republican Party. Up until this point, right, Donald Trump is saying some pretty nasty things about immigration. The Republican Party establishment would very much like it for Donald Trump not to be the face of the party, especially at the debates and in the larger kind of immigration conversation going on. They know come general election, they have to, if not appeal to the Latino community, at least not actively repel them like they did 4 years ago. But at the same time, Trump's position is very, let's secure the border, which is, I guess, a generous description of his comments. But generally that plays pretty well with a certain sliver of the base. So the Republican candidates had to be very careful of how they attacked Trump then. But now that he's going after McCain, and then by extension, they can paint it as though he's going after veterans, it's a much safer opportunity for someone like Rick Perry, who is also running for president, to call on him to drop out. All of a sudden, it's a chance for some easy points along the way.
Josh, before these comments, you had Trump surging in the polls. Now you've got publications like the Huffington Post saying we're not even going to cover him under the politics label. We're going to call it entertainment now. Do you agree with that? Do you think that the reporting of him should be done so as an entertainment platform?
Oh, I mean, while his campaign is certainly entertaining, I don't think it's entertainment. It's certainly news. I mean, it's uncomfortable. It's not necessarily the highbrow, nuanced conversation we should be having about our policies, but it's an unavoidable fact that right now he is, if not at the top, near the top of most national polls. He's somewhere between 12 and 18%. That's rivaled pretty much only by Jeb Bush at this point. We can say he's a sideshow. We can say he's a circus, and in many ways he is. But his campaign and the support for that campaign, I think, certainly says something about the Republican electorate right now, about the anger that some of them feel. And at the very baseline, if absolutely nothing else, we know 18% of the Republican primary voters right now are willing to say they support Trump. If we take it as assumption that Trump will drop out eventually, and I certainly do take that as an assumption before we get deep into the nominating contest, but that means 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 Republican voters are up for grabs right now. And where those voters go, do they go to Ted Cruz? Do they go to Walker? That's going to have a big impact on how the nominating contest as a whole plays out, and then ultimately who the nominee is. So I think it's a mistake to just dismiss Trump. He's great for headlines. And reporters like myself and everyone, we walk a fine line between, are we covering him for the page views, for the clicks, for the viewers, and are we doing it in kind of a substantive way? But I think ultimately it's a question of how we should cover him maybe, but certainly we need to be covering him as news, because he is right now.
Josh, you've seen it. The bottom line is when you look on social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, there are a lot of people who love Trump because he says what he believes. Regardless of how ridiculous you may perceive it to be, people love that he stands by what he says, and he just flat out says it. What happens if he winds up on a debate stage with the rest of these presidential candidates? Does it become all about Donald Trump and what comes out of his mouth?
I mean, I think it will, and I think the Republicans are very, very concerned about that. I mean, it looks like right now, I mean, we haven't seen the polling numbers after this recent flap with McCain, but I'd be shocked if he loses a lot of support immediately. He only needs about 3% to make the debate stage, and he's going to have that. So he will be on that debate stage, and he's going to come out saying what Donald Trump says. And it's going to be difficult for that not to dominate the conversation, and I think that other Republicans on stage, they need to be prepared. They're going to be the lens which we view them through, with we being the media and we being the American public, is certainly going to be how they interact with Trump. Do they try to be a grown-up, play the grown-up card and distance themselves, or do they try to run closer to him? I mean, that will be kind of the first real test in the debate for these candidates, is exactly how much do they run away from Trump and how much do they want to ignore him? And even if they could ignore him, I'm not quite sure.
Josh Voorhees, senior writer at Slate. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.